We're about to embark on quite a journey.
We are giving you all the evidence, based only on the secret testimony of the miserable souls who survived this terrifying ordeal.
The story is begun.
Okay.
Greetings, my friend.
I'm running this show now.
Oh, hi there. My name is Prostetnik Vogon Jeffs, and in this video I'm talking about Ed Wood. No, not the 1994 comedy biopic by Tim Burton. That is a fantastic movie and the qualitative opposite of what we're discussing here. This video is a triple feature review. That's right, we're going back to the 50s to review the trifecta of terrible, the triple threat of turds. 1953's gender-bending Glen or Glenda, 1955's Bride of the Monster, and the pinnacle of poor filmmaking, 1957's Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Nobody cares! These movies are terrible!
Good God.
You talk of God?
Okay, a bit of background. Edward D. Wood Jr. was an American filmmaker best known for making low-budget productions packed with excessive amounts of stock footage, bad writing, and even worse acting.
I didn't hear you. I know what you said, but I didn't hear you. I get it.
Really terrible stuff. Since his death in 1978, Wood's works have been rediscovered by a subsection of the population that enjoys watching terrible films, both ironically and unironically. A big part of his posthumous revival is thanks to the aforementioned biopic starring Johnny Depp and Martin Landau. Along with notable pop culture nods like the early 80s comedy documentary It Came From Hollywood and the early 90s Seinfeld episode The Chinese Restaurant. I mean, this guy was quite a character. In addition to being a cross-dressing alcoholic obsessed with Angora sweaters, he was also an abusive womanizer, polygamist, and financial derelict. What I'm trying to say here is, this guy sounds like he'd be a blast to hang out with. So let's do that.
Report to me when this has been accomplished.
Let's hang out with Ed Wood.
And action!
Our first movie, if we can call it that, is the 1953 exploitation film Glen or Glenda. What's an exploitation film, you ask? Great question. An exploitation film is a production that attempts to capitalize on current trends or sensational content. Sex, drugs, violence, and lots of weird stuff that's generally too taboo for mainstream audiences. You know, stuff like Eli Roth movies, hardcore porn, and most YouTube videos. Wood was contracted to create a film inspired by Christine Jorgensen, one of the first and most notable figures to receive a sex change operation in the United States.
Man to woman, woman to man.
From penis to vagina.
Christine's story made national headlines in 1952, and Hollywood producer George Weiss was eager to cash in on the story.
On the phone, you said you had some special qualifications?
I like to dress in women's clothing.
You a fruit?
No, not at all. I love women.
You're not a fruit.
No, I'm all man. I even fought in WW2.
So you think this qualifies you to make my movie?
Yes.
But Wood had different plans. Instead of making a movie about a sex change operation, he decided to create a semi-autobiographical story about transvestism.
I'd like to hear the story to the fullest.
That's not going to happen. Wood convinced aging, drug-addled, and out-of-work actor Bela Lugosi, you know, OG Dracula, to appear in the movie.
It's a shame. He's such a great actor and no one uses him anymore.
His role is completely irrelevant to the plot and was more or less added so that a somewhat high-profile name could be associated with the picture.
Hold the string! Hold the string!
Wood also starred in the movie as the titular Glenda, alongside his girlfriend at the time, Dolores Fuller. Now, some folks will use soft language to frame this movie as surrealism or unconventional filmmaking, instead of just calling it what it is, a proselytizing plea from a desperate, inept writer and filmmaker.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
It's an incompetent product on every level, with its only redeeming quality being its emphasis on themes of understanding and compassion, along with a handful of unintentionally hilarious moments.
You're doing it now. Laughing. Yet, It's not a situation to be laughed at.
But there's barely any structure to it. Calling it a film is super Stretch Armstrong.
That's the understatement of the year.
The whole thing is bookended with nonsensical monologuing by Lugosi, and then bookended again by a narrative about a concerned police officer trying to understand what transgenderism is. Bookended again by a loose sex change narrative that was only included to satisfy contractual obligations.
What kind of a movie is this?
It's the inception of gender identity films. Still better than Emilia Perez.
Yes.
But we're not really setting the bar very high here, are we? Sandwiched between all of this runtime padding is the story of Glen, an apparently average dude who secretly likes wearing women's clothing.
Glen is a transvestite, but he is not a homosexual.
He just likes the way women's clothes make him feel.
Glen is engaged to be married to Barbara.
But he's worried that revealing the truth to her will jeopardize their relationship. Spoilers, in real life, it did. Getting advice from his cross-dressing friend John, whose ex-wife was not at all understanding, Glen proposes to Barbara and eventually comes clean about his secret life, but not before experiencing a wild and symbolism-fueled nightmare involving the devil and some erotic bondage scenes.
Look at those jugs.
Now, in fairness to Wood, the scenes with half-naked women writhing on a couch and getting raped were reportedly inserted by George Weiss to extend the length of the film and check off some exploitation boxes. After his revelatory nightmare, Glen shares his secret habit with Barbara. She's shocked at first, but ultimately decides to support her future husband, and she gives him her Angora sweater to prove it.
Love is the only answer.
And that's Glen or Glenda. Now, just to reiterate and or clear things up a bit, I have no issue with the subject matter. I'm not someone who's gonna drone on like,
Grr, trans movie bad because trans.
That's not the issue!
One of my all-time favorite short stories is Robert Heinlein's All You Zombies.
I have many gay friends.
My father's gay.
And at the end of the day, a good story is a good story. Glen or Glenda, unfortunately, is not a good story.
Just for comparison, let's go native.
Oh, no. Let's not. It's a 1 hour sequence of occasionally coherent scenes that feels like it's 3 f***ing hours long. And while I admire the independent spirit and personal sincerity of the film, tedious is the nicest word I have for it.
Well, my next one will be better.
Movie number 2 is the 1955 horror flick Bride of the Monster. Unlike Glen or Glenda, this budget monster movie actually has a narrative structure and feels like a complete story. Not a good one, mind you, but a story nonetheless. Bride of the Monster also continues Ed Wood's love affair with newspaper headlines, stock footage of traffic and lightning, and Bela Lugosi, naturally. The story begins with a couple hunters getting caught out in the rain and desperately seeking shelter from, you guessed it, lightning. They make their way to a nearby swamp mansion they believe to be deserted. To their surprise, it's inhabited by Dr. Eric Vornoff, who acts like a complete dick and tells the hunters to buzz off.
Oh, no, you can't stay.
Oh, be reasonable.
You can't stay.
We might catch pneumonia out there.
You're not welcome in my house. Go away now. Go.
He even gets his mute assistant Lobo to help scare them away. The hunters think Lobo is the monster of local legends, but no, the monster is actually a giant octopus Vornoff keeps in his lab. The mad scientist sends Lobo and the octopus after the hunters. I don't know why he just didn't invite them in, but anyway, he sends Lobo and the octopus after the hunters, one of whom dies in a tentacled struggle. Lobo brings the surviving hunter back to Vornoff's mansion.
Lobo! You're to rush with my patients.
Only to have him die during one of the mad scientist's super soldier experiments. Super soldier experiments. A lot of alliteration there. The police are perplexed by some recent disappearances.
2 more men have vanished up at Lake Marsh. That makes 12 in 3 months. Everything points to an inhuman violence.
So it's up to scrappy local investigative reporter Janet Lawton to uncover the truth.
There's nothing left for me to do but take a run out to Lake Marsh myself.
Over my dead body.
That could be arranged.
Which doesn't sit well with her fiancé, Lieutenant Dick Craig.
If she's gone to Lake Marsh alone, I'll take her across my knee.
Oh my God. Man, the 50s were wild. Captain Robbins and Lieutenant Dick question Professor Vladimir Straussky.
I am considered an authority on the subject of
prehistoric monsters.
The professor, hot off of his investigation of the Loch Ness Monster, has traveled fucking Loch Ness Monster, has traveled to America because of the striking similarities between the two cases. And don't worry, I've got this covered. I'll say this on behalf of everybody. What? Captain Robbins doesn't trust Professor Strowski and warns Dick to be careful when dealing with him. On her way out to Lake Marsh, and with a storm brewing, Janet crashes her car. Women drivers, am I right? Am I right? Right, well, Janet passes out when she sees a snake, and Lobo shows up immediately to take her back to Vornoff's mansion. But not before pocketing her Angora hat, because Ed would. The next day, Dick and his partner Marty find Janet's crashed car and decide the best place to check for her is at a nearby coffee shop.
Look, there's a coffee joint about 10 miles back. Let's go and check. Let's go. Okay.
Fucking based. Back at the mansion, Vornoff and Lobo bring Janet some tea and toast. When Lobo tries to get handsy, Vornoff whips the shit out of him. Janet tries to question Vornoff, but he gets tired of her jabbering almost immediately and hypnotizes her to sleep. At the same time, Professor Strowski infiltrates the mansion. He is soon confronted by Vornoff, but it turns out they're old colleagues or some bullshit like that. Strowski has come to request Vornoff's return to their home country.
To continue your research and experiments there.
Which country is that? No clue. It doesn't matter. It's some European country. Most likely Germany. The salient point being that they now believe in Vornoff's scientific work and want him to return home.
I have no home.
Vornoff is working for himself now.
I will perfect my own race of people.
A race of atomic supermen that will conquer the world!
But Strowski was only asking the mad scientist out of courtesy. Their government ordered Vornoff's return, so Strowski resorts to threatening him at gunpoint, which doesn't end well for the professor. Lobo grabs him at the speed of dirt.
I guess, Strowski. Bring him along, Lobo.
And the intruding Strowski is fed to the giant octopus. Dick and Marty return to the swamp and find the missing professor's rental car. These guys are really good at finding cars. Not so great at solving disappearances, but finding cars, man, that's their bag. Oh, and then Dick immediately steps into a hole and has to fight off an alligator. Don't worry, he makes it out in one piece because it was just a shallow hole and the alligator was stock footage. Dick then infiltrates the mansion and finds a bunch of Bela Lugosi's headshots, while Vornoff whips a love-struck Lobo.
When you rub that swatch of Angora, it makes you refuse. So then Bella has to discipline you.
I teach you to disobey. You will obey.
Dick interrupts Vornoff's attempt at making Janet the bride of the atom.
Will emerge a woman of super strength and beauty. The bride of the atom.
Whoa. Wait a minute. Bride of the atom? I thought she was supposed to be the bride of the monster. And isn't the giant octopus the monster? What the hell is going on here? Love-struck Lobo has had enough of the mad scientist. He takes a handful of bullets to the belly, knocks out Vornoff, and releases Janet. Dick and Lobo fight, and Lobo kicks his ass right before subjecting Vornoff to his own scientific experiment, which actually works, turning the mad scientist into a superhuman monster. He and Lobo battle, and Vornoff is victorious. Oh, I get it. Vornoff is the monster. Gotcha. Dick and the rest of the police force chase after the superhuman Vornoff, who gets tired of lugging Janet around and dumps her in the swamp. And then Dick pushes a boulder onto Vornoff, knocking him into the arms of the giant octopus. Okay, I was wrong. Vornoff is the bride of the monster. It all makes sense now. And then lightning strikes them, creating a nuclear blast that doesn't affect anyone nearby.
He tampered in God's domain.
Hold on, that's the end of the movie? What the fuck? Here's the thing. I think Glen or Glenda is tedious nonsense with barely any redeeming qualities. Bride of the Monster steps it up a notch. A semi-coherent plotline with a fair number of WTF moments to earn a spot in the so bad it's good club. But Plan 9 from Outer Space really knocks it out of the park.
It's a guaranteed blockbuster.
It's a science fiction horror film that is simultaneously one of Wood's greatest accomplishments and one of the worst movies of all time. In a good way. It has all the hallmarks of his earlier films. More newspaper headlines, more stock footage of traffic, lightning, and wild animals, and more Bela Lugosi.
I thought he passed on.
Despite Lugosi being quite dead at the time production began. And unlike the previous two movies in this video, Plan 9 doesn't feel longer than it is. It's way too short.
This is the ultimate Ed Wood movie. No compromises.
But also just the right length, if you know what I mean. The movie is bookended by nonsensical monologuing by the film's narrator, the amazing Criswell.
And remember, my friend, future events such as these will affect you in the future.
Absolute f***ing gibberish. He introduces us to the old man, Bela Lugosi in archival footage form. The old man is mourning the death of his wife as a couple of gravediggers anxiously await their time to shine. Up in the sky, pilot Jeff and his crew witness a UFO. Now, back to the cemetery. The two gravediggers are attacked by the reanimated corpse of the old man's wife, played by the anatomically inaccurate Vampira. And shortly thereafter, the old man is hit by a car and buried in that same cemetery. A couple of mourners discover the bodies of the two gravediggers, and Tor Johnson's Inspector Clay comes out to investigate. Meanwhile, pilot Jeff tells his wife, Paula, about the UFO sighting.
I saw a flying saucer.
Saucer? You mean the kind from up there?
As soon as the military found out about it, they warned Jeff to keep his mouth shut.
Oh, it burns me up. These things have been seen for years. They hear. It's a fact. And the public ought to know about it.
There must be something more you can do about it.
Only there isn't. Oh, but what's the use of making a fuss? But last night I saw a flying object that couldn't have possibly been from this planet. But I can't say a word. I'm muzzled by army brass.
And then a UFO flies past their house and knocks them both to the ground. It does the same thing to the police officers investigating the cemetery murders and landing in a nearby field. Inspector Clay heads over to take a closer look, but is attacked and murdered by the old man and his wife. So, Lieutenant John Harper takes over the investigation, waving his gun around like an absolute f***ing madman. Newspapers, UFOs over stock footage, more UFOs, some military stock footage, and now the military is attacking the UFOs. And then Colonel Tom Edwards insinuates that every natural disaster has been potentially caused by UFOs.
Take any fire, any earthquake, any major disaster, then wonder.
At the alien mothership, Space Station 7, geez, I wonder what happened to Space Stations 1 through 6. Who cares? Eros and Tana confer with the ruler of the galaxy.
What plan will you follow now?
Plan 9.
Yes, Plan 9 deals with the resurrection of the dead.
After which, Eros dumps exposition like a fat kid with IBS dropping deuces after an all-you-can-eat Taco Bell buffet.
But those whom we're using cannot think. They are the dead, brought to a simulated life by our electrode guns.
On his way to work, pilot Jeff's wife tells him what she's going to do with his pillow while he's gone.
Pillow?
Well, I have to have something to keep me company while you're away. Sometimes in the night when it does get a little lonely, I reach over and touch it. Then it doesn't seem so lonely anymore.
A crazy kid.
And later that evening, the old man shows up and frightens Paula out of the house, pursuing her into the cemetery as the corpse of Inspector Clay comes back to life. Fortunately, Paula is rescued by a passerby soon after passing out. What is with all the women passing out in these movies? The cops come back to the cemetery and discuss UFOs.
Oh, haven't you heard? Been many times a saucer hasn't had a glow, or a light of any kind for that matter. That proves it.
And Colonel Tom finds out that the aliens have been sending messages to Earth.
They speak our language? Well, not quite. We've developed a language computer. A machine that breaks down any language to our own.
I mean, sure, it's an Ed Wood babblefish. You can't ask too many questions or your brain will explode. I mean, trying to make sense of an Ed Wood movie is like trying to make sense of Gen Alpha slang. It's Skibbity Ohio, no cap. Don't get salty with my Riz, Pookie. Ugh, I feel sick. I honestly have no idea how to recap this movie because it just devolves into pure nonsensical stupidity. The further into the film you go, the more it makes you question your sanity and the choices you've made in life. But holy shit, is it funny. Let me end this as quickly and succinctly as possible.
It's too bad it must be handled this way. But it must.
The aliens have come to Earth to prevent humanity from developing a universe-destroying weapon.
The only explosion left is the Solaranite.
You speak of Solaranite, but just what is it?
The Solaranite
is a way to explode the actual particles of sunlight.
Instead of using their advanced technology to achieve their goal, they decide to resurrect the dead, one corpse at a time, to create an unstoppable zombie army. For one reason or another. Oh, I should have gotten drunk before doing this review. The whole thing culminates with Pilot Jeff, Colonel Tom, and Lieutenant John heading back to the cemetery and finding the alien ship. Eros explains how human technological advancement is a threat to the universe. But Pilot Jeff thinks blowing up the universe is super cool, man.
So what if we do develop this solanite bomb? We'd be even a stronger nation than now.
You see? Your stupid minds. Stupid. Stupid.
So he smacks Eros like a little bitch.
That's all I'm taking from you.
Get back here, you fool!
And then Eros takes out his frustration on Tana.
How then is it mad that one planet must destroy another who threatens the very existence?
That's enough!
Because even advanced alien civilizations be all like,
"Get back in the kitchen, woman!"
Paula is captured by zombie Inspector Clay, but defeated by a couple of goof cops. So I guess not really unstoppable. Pilot Jeff and Eros duke it out as Tana attempts to get the ship in the air. But the ship is on fire. Pilot Jeff and company escape the burning ship as it ascends into the night sky.
We gotta hand it to them, though. They're far ahead of us.
Jesus fucking Christ. I mean, Jesus fucking Criswell. I'm not sure how much I can add to the whole Ed Wood discussion, but I'll try to waste a bit of your time in Ed's memory.
I get it. I don't like it.
All three of the aforementioned movies are terrible, each for somewhat different reasons, but they're also entertaining. Some folks will watch these movies and find nothing of value in the low-budget production, the extreme camp, the laughable writing and acting.
Hey, it's not that bad. You can't concentrate on the negative. Look, he's got some nice things to say here.
But others will love the outsider art appeal, the eccentric, guerrilla style of filmmaking. Whatever side of the fence you come down on, well...
You may be right, but it doesn't frickin' matter.
One thing that can't be denied is the historic and cultural significance of these movies and of the legend that is Ed Wood. He was unabashedly courageous as a filmmaker. Terrible, yes. I mean, the guy was not good at his job. But he had the kind of spirit that every writer or director or actor should have, unafraid to be authentic and to put himself out there for all those to see. That alone earns him some serious credit. There is a reason these films are so highly regarded within the cult film community. Despite all of the undeniably awful elements, these are movies packed with charm and sincerity, made by individuals who are even more interesting than the characters themselves. Personally, I have mixed feelings about the three movies featured in this video. I would rather watch the entirety of the extended edition Lord of the Rings trilogy in one sitting than sit through Glen or Glenda again. And Bride of the Monster always makes me shrug with indifference.
Oh, son, you're too vague.
But I genuinely love Plan 9. As far as all these so bad they're good movies, it's one of the best. Absolutely worth checking out. So, here's my recommendation.
Well, here we go again.
Watch them in chronological order.
But only if he really appears female.
Watch them in the order I presented them in. Have a few drinks. Smoke a little something. Whatever you like to do. And then chase it all down with a viewing of Burton's Ed Wood. Because Ed Wood movies are truly terrible, but absolutely worth watching.